Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper, and today we have a very special project. This is the cylinder from my steam traction engine, my 𝐸𝐵𝐾𝐿 2175, and we've got to get it up on the boring mill because it's no longer round. So after nearly, well, slightly over 100 years, the cylinder has worn and is about 20 thousandths more top to bottom here. So I'm guessing it's all in the bottom, and judging by what I see, it's all at the bottom. But we're gonna bore it over just a little bit and then clean it up. But then in the future videos, we have to make a new piston, we have to make a new piston rod, new valve rod, and then put it all back together. I gotta order new rings. So there's a lot of work to this project coming up. So let's get it up on the boring mill, get it all indicated in, and then figure out what we're gonna use for tooling to bore this thing. All right, so I elected to lay it on the face of the steam chest, assuming that the chest, this is the side where the exhaust mounts, the other side is where the governor mounts, and the cylinder, assuming that's all bored true to each other. I should be able to indicate all that out and find out these faces should be true to this face, 90 degrees. So we're gonna find that out. So let's get the indicator and get this all dialed in, and then I gotta figure out, if that's all right, how to clamp it. So depending on how this all works out, it was either a week ago or 2 weeks ago, depending on what I had to make in between here and there to get to this job. I did a chuck run out video where I went through and measured chuck run out, showing how to measure that to ensure that my accuracy of my dial indicator or my coaxial indicator was good. Now, I still got a lot of setup to do here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna run it through, get the setup all figured out, get everything indicated where it needs to be, and then I'll run you guys through the setup. All right, guys, I gotta admit, this is the single most difficult indicating job I've ever done, because this is for my steam engine. I probably went a little backwards on it, and considering I've never done something quite like this before, so I approached it a little bit different, but this was a great learning experience for me. So in the future, anything like this, I'll be able to tackle it a little better. So let's get into what I did. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of a long drawn out explanation because it did not go well. I actually got about 3 hours into getting this thing set up and figured out and getting it right. And it was quite a learning experience for me. So I'm very happy about that. But I also wanna make sure it's right because it's my steam engine and I intend to keep this until the day I croak. So, and after that, somebody's gonna have a very nice engine, I hope. So I started out with my little indicator here, and this little guy is pretty accurate. Started out with that guy on the face, and actually, let me back up a little. It is backwards to what it was when I first put it up here. So I started indicating on that face and getting it square, getting it centered with this indicator, and then I threw in the coaxial, checked it, and then ran the quill out, and I was getting all kinds of weird measurements. It wasn't jiving, it wasn't coming out straight. Not a big deal, I kind of expected that. So then I got thinking about it. Well, you actually probably want this end to be the indicated end, because this is the end to start with, because this is closest to the crosshead. So this end of the engine has just a head. This end has where the head that the rod passes through. So you want that as accurate as possible. So I spun it around. Started indicating it again with this guy and got it all true, side to side, and then up and down, and I had to shim it. So I have about 15 thousandths of shims underneath this end. Great, comes out within 1 thou all across, the 4 points. So perfect, absolute beautiful. Then I moved to doing sweeping the bore, and I got that within 1 thou on this bore, the outer step, not on the machine bore, but the outer step. And this is machined, so this is the locating step. Then I throw in the test indicator, check it again, you know, the coaxial here, and it checked good on this end. I ran it through, and it was still not right. So I ran it back, checked this end again, it's dead on. Then I bring out the precision level. I don't have a Starrett, I've got a knockoff, but this one's really good, does work well. Checked my table, and then I put it up here on my spindle and checked that, and it's a little bit off. So over that distance, it threw me off about 5 thousandths. Not a big deal, that's something that I can fix with adjustment. We'll deal with that later. So then I tried extending the quill and then running the saddle back and forth with the quill locked, and that took care of the problem. So what I am on this end, I check the same on that end just by doing it with the table and not with the quill. So that's how we're gonna do this. So kind of a long roundabout way to get there. It took me, like I said, about 3 hours. A lot of screwing around, a lot of stopping and thinking. I had lunch in there, you know. So it was quite complex and quite a really good learning experience all around to get this thing right. This is kind of the first time I've done something like this, so this is going to be a you know, experiment, test my skills, and it'd be a great experience all around for future jobs similar to this. All right, so let's get the coaxial indicator out of here, get the chuck out of there, and get the boring head set in and see what we need to do to get our boring head set on. All right, now the question is she gonna fit in there? And it looks like it will. We'll have to just do some adjusting, get it set up where it needs to be. I'm hopeful this will work, and if it doesn't, then I'm in trouble. All right, so I'm hard up against a stop. I'm gonna bring this in and just see where we're at, hoping this clears. Well, you know what they say about clearance. That's a tight fit, but that will work. I couldn't be happier with that. So we'll get the tooling all set up and touch off and see how it goes. Okay, so what I got in here is a carbide lathe bit, and I think this will work good for us. We'll try it. I'm only going to take a light cut to start with, just to see how it cuts, how it reacts. If I need to, I can go to high-speed steel. I'm hoping this will work just fine. And we've got, this is a Chandler Duplex boring and facing head. It's got this drive wheel on it that you can adjust. So while it's spinning, I put a shorter handle on, just a bolt for now, so I could get to it and not break it on something. So when I ran in. So we're gonna go ahead, get it in there, touch it off, come back out, take another 5 thou, and then take a cut and see how it does. All right, there we touched. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn my dial, and I'm gonna take about 3 thousandths here, and that's actually closer to 6, because it should be double. And I'm gonna just tighten these screws so she can't walk, and let's take her. And I got set at 12 thou rev, 12 thou rev feed rate. We'll see how she does. right, we already gone 3 3/4 inches, and it's not taking all the way around, which that's fine. We can see just how badly wore this thing is. I can see it hitting on the sides, but not the top and bottom. So this is technically the top of the cylinder, that's the bottom, and then this is the outside, and this is up towards the boiler. All right, so as you can see, I'm going to have some difficulty backing out my boring head there, but I think because we didn't touch it all over here, or hardly at all over here, I can just turn it to this position and back it all the way out. So let's see what we got here. It looks like we touched here to about there. And let's see, what's the top look like? I heard it hitting up there, but yeah, I can't see much. So I'm gonna go ahead and take another 5 on the dial here, which would be a 10. I know this thing was roughly 20, I think it was 23 out around down there. I didn't measure it up here very good, but that was because it was on the engine when I measured. Now if you listen, you can hear it hitting in 2 spots, so it's definitely cutting a little more. That's cleaning up slowly but nicely. Actually, that feels really good, but it was hitting in 2 spots I heard that time, definitely. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll take more. We'll just keep whittling it away at this nice and slow until we get it fully cleaned up. And then I'm gonna determine if I'm gonna run this over to the cities and have it honed or not. going really well. I've got it set to take another 10. I went, instead of 5, I'll go 10 this time. By my calculations, I need about 50 thou to clean this up, but I'm gonna slow her down and slow down the RPM, but keep the feed rate. I bumped it up to 18 thou rev, and it was still cutting just beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and just run that and see how it cuts. Well, that ain't good. I started getting some chatter, but I'm still not making contact up higher here, so I'll slow down my speed, and we'll stick with that depth, but see if we can't clean that up. That looks like it's cutting a lot better, almost all the way around too now. Now the thing to remember here is this engine's probably got close to 100 years of working life. That cylinder moving back, or piston moving back and forth in there, wearing, hammering, heating and cooling cycles from the steam. Running at the pressure I run, it's about 375 degrees, so we got some heat there. Lack of lubrication, at some point, obviously, but the cast iron does get hard over time, so. But this is cleaning up pretty decently. I'm kind of pretty happy with this. Alright, so I noticed something when I came out of that last pass was some chatter right here, and I don't like that. And got looking at my cutter, and so it was going in this way, and the tool pressure was pushing it off, but when the tip got out, it was diving in, and that was causing that chatter. So I went and sharpened a different cutter, or a high-speed steel cutter. And whether you can see that thing or not, but I sharpened that up with a big radius. We're gonna run that real slow. I'll probably throw some anchor lube at it and we'll just see what she does. Alright, so I wasn't happy with that at all, the way that thing was cutting, and it was ground nice, but it was just not cutting good. I found a brazed carbide tool bit, similar to this, but not quite as big a radius, and that's cutting really nicely. Actually, that's getting me pretty well full cleanup right now, and then I'll come back through with a much lighter pass, smooth the thing out, and we should be done. All right, that went a lot better. A lot better. I'm gonna take just a little more. I'm gonna slow down my feed rate because I didn't clean up here. And this is where the piston was rubbing on the stroke. But we're pretty good. I mean, it's coming along. So I started getting a little chatter running at that higher speed, and I slowed her down and slowed down my feed, and this is just finishing out nice. So we should be done after this pass. Well, we're almost there, and it looks like pretty much 100% cleanup. Once we get it out of there, I'll run it out a little further, pull the cutter out, and then we'll get it out of the way and see how smooth it is. If it's good enough, I might not even have this honed. This might be perfect the way it is. Boy, that is smooth. Even here, this is pretty good up here. That's where oil was sitting, so I'm assuming that's just, because that was the bottom of the cylinder when it's sitting on the engine. But I don't think we'll have to hone this. This is really good. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That came out really well. I'm very happy with it. I don't think I'm gonna have to hone it to get it any better. I think it's actually pretty well perfect the way it is. So I'm very happy with that. Took a lot of figuring out, a lot of indicating to get it right, a lot to get the tooling right. You know, that first cutter, it was just pushing off. It wasn't cutting for some reason. Then the high-speed steel just did not work well. I went to that, it's a brazed carbide that I had, and just ground it a little bit, gave it a nice radius, and 25 RPM and 5 thou a rev. By the math, that's about 104 minutes to do that pass, but boy, did that come out smooth. That is a very nice, perfect finish. I couldn't be happier. So with that, I think I just got to say one thing. If I didn't own a machine shop, I sure wouldn't own a steam engine or a dragline crane. God, without the capabilities to do this kind of stuff, I'd be in trouble. So with that, until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.